What's up, everybody? We're live Tuesday night as always, couple minutes late because somebody has to root on Michigan State. Michigan State holding on barely to a lead right now. Welcome to All About the Birds presents Fairway to Heaven. Jason Sullivan and I, Phil Stiefel, we're here as always. We're going to recap briefly last week's Genesis Invitational. We're going to look ahead to this week's, the PGA. They got two events going on. We're just focused on the WGC Workday Championship. It's the real important event. The other event, the Puerto Rican Open, I don't think there's really any major names in it. Most of everybody's betting and DraftKings and stuff like that will be focused on the WGC Workday, I'm sure. Real quick though, as the first comment of the night is saying, we want to offer up our prayers to Tiger Woods. If you weren't paying attention to the news today, Tiger Woods was in a really bad one-car crash early this morning. Rushed to the emergency room, jaws of life to get him out of his car. It seems like he's got a couple broken compound fractures in his legs. I heard on CNN later tonight that they're saying he might have shattered one of his ankles as well. So a guy that was really trying to – I was going to open the show this week talking about, whether he'd make it for the Masters based off of Sunday's, interview he did. But now we're just worried about his overall well-being at this point. And as a guy that's, got two kids and stuff, I'm sure he – I just my heart goes out to his family and him, and I hope he's okay.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I kind of got a little bit annoyed today just by how many people were speculating everything. I don't care if you like the guy or you don't like the guy. The guy got injured in the car accident. Like, come on, he had to get rushed to surgery, and like you said, and sounds pretty bad. There's conflicting reports about what actually happened, but at the very least, it sounds like he broke both of his legs. So, it's not a good thing, and you don't want to see anybody go through that at all. So don't rush to your judgment whether you like him or not.
I'm sure everybody was thinking there was alcohol or drugs involved and stuff like that. You save that. Right now, you're just worried about him being okay. I will say I heard it on the news, and I felt this myself from having a compound fracture. When they put him right into, like, they literally took him from the accident right to the OR.
That's not good.
That tells you that there's potential nerve damage, internal bleeding in the legs. Basically the same thing that happened to me. I broke my leg and I was in surgery a few hours later. So definitely our hearts go out to him. So, anybody that, we'll keep up to date on all that stuff and all, but yeah, I just hope he's well. Cause we talked about golfers in the past few weeks. When he's playing, golf is better.
Yeah, 100%. And, I was talking to Josh, our friend of the podcast, Josh Gamble today, and we were kind of going back and forth just about like what he means to the game, and also, is he done now? He's had his back troubles, he's had knee troubles. I mean, this could be the end for Tiger. And I don't like Tiger Woods. I've never been a Tiger Woods fan for whatever reason, but I can't deny he's great for the game, and you don't want to see somebody go out like that. And I'm not sure today if you saw them tell Justin Thomas live when he was doing his interview, his pre-tournament interview. Tiger and Justin are really good buddies, and they told him live that his buddy got in a car accident. He was tearing up, like talking, and I mean, just like as you would with any of your friends, you don't want to hear one of your friends is in a bad car accident. That was brutal.
Yeah, whether you like them or not, you got to hope for the best. And yeah, I mean, that'll be a conversation in a week or 2 or 3 once we get all the details, and see what's going on with him, whether we can actually talk, whether he'll even have a chance to play again. You heard him on Sunday talking about his back, and he doesn't have any more surgeries and many more swings left in that back anyway, and everything he's accomplished. I mean, he doesn't have to come back anymore. So
no, exactly right. They posted a graphic, right? I'm sure you saw it right at the end of the tournament. 82 career wins. Like, I was just kind of sitting back and thinking about that. That is insane. 82 wins is nuts.
I would like to shoot 82, let alone win 82 events. So 82 on the front 9 maybe normally, but yeah. So let's not talk too much more about that. I mean, if more news breaks on Tiger, we'll share it on all the Fairway to Heaven and all about the bird accounts and stuff like that. Real quick, last week, the Genesis Invitational, Max Homa pulled out the victory in a playoff. It lived up to its reputation, like we talked about, of one of the toughest tournaments and toughest courses to play. I don't know how you do it. I cashed 5 out of my 7 lineups, and I put a weekend bet on Max Homa, which after that tee shot on the first playoff hole, I backed the money out and only took half of it. But I still won something there. And like I said, I cashed in 5 of my 7 lineups last week. How was your weekend, fantasy and gambling wise?
Well, first off, I told you, I think it was Friday night, that I was not going to make any money for the weekend. So I actually had a winning weekend in DraftKings, which was great. I was happy that my team came back. I had a lot of Max Homa. And then I placed a 22-1 bet on him on Friday night also. So I hit that. I actually, it's funny, tried to back out of the bet, talked to you. You're like, let it ride. And then I tried to back out of it anyways. And for some reason, the app wouldn't cash out. So I kept it. Hit 22-1, which was great.
They refreshed quick enough on the on that there and all.
Yeah, it said try. It said try again. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't try again. No, it was tough to watch though. At the end, I think,
but he's dead to me now because of that.
I think too, like kind of what we were talking about. We were both watching the tournament. I love Max Homa. I think he's a great talent. He's an up and coming player. I had a bet on him, obviously, so I was rooting for him to win. But how crushing is it to see Tony Finau go through what he's going through? Just like. The dude it's mental. Like, he was in way better position on that first playoff hole and just choked it away. It's like he can't hit those short putts. He's a great putter, and he can't hit those short putts right at the end of the tournaments. It's crazy.
I mean, I got his notes down here for DraftKings when we break down that lineup. I mean, that's 3 straight events that he's finished either tied for second or second place. I mean, the guy. I mean, we call him 5th place Tony for a reason. I thought that was going to come back to bite me in the butt there, but I mean, the guy is. He's going to win. I mean, it's just a matter of time till he, breaks through it. And he strikes me as one of those guys that he's had so much success that once he wins once, he might go on a tear and win 3 out of 5 or, 2 out of 3 events in a row because he is that good. He just hasn't put together a full 72 holes.
Well, and I think he has like 35 top 10s since his last win, which ironically was at the Puerto Rico Open, which is this week. It's the off event this week. They always say that if you win that, you're cursed. But Victor Hovland won that event last year and also won another event. So he broke that curse. But yeah, like you said, Finau's elite. I don't care what you say. He can't win, but he's elite. I mean, he's in the top 10 in every tournament, especially the big tournaments. He's always in the top 10. So I feel for him. I hope he gets a few wins here coming up.
Well, we're going to the WGC Workday Championship. It's down in Southern Florida this year. Last year it was in Mexico, but because of pandemic restrictions and all, they moved it over to Florida. So the course history per se isn't as prevalent this week because the event hasn't been held there. The Concession Golf Club or something like that it's called. It's a really long golf course, long par 5s, long par 3s. I think I wrote down that one of the holes is like one of the par 5s is like a 600+ yard hole. So it's definitely going to be a course for bombers this week. Yeah.
I think the funniest thing about this tournament is that it's called World Golf Championship, Workday Championship at the Concession. Like, why is there 2 championships in the title? That just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, this is, like you said, par 72, Bermuda greens, Jack Nicklaus designed course. Iron play is key at this course. It's a second shot golf course, 100%. There's actually water on 12 of the holes, which is the 3rd most of any course on tour. So water's going to come into play. A lot of guys like to find the water. Rory amongst others. So yeah, definitely a second shot course. You're going to want, there's no course history this week, so you're going to want guys that are in good recent form. And also a step beyond that, I think you're going to want to look into WGCs in the past, no-cut events, who plays well in no-cut events. Because even though
I have a note on one of my players for this week on that.
Even though it's a different course.
The same notes on that guy.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting, especially because nobody has any information on this course. Nobody's seen this course set up other than I think it was the NCAA Championship in 2015. Bryson actually won, but it's going to be way more difficult than that. So
I mean, I wrote down so many notes. It's kind of like, do they even really matter at this point? Like the last 20 years of this event, never was a first-time winner on the PGA Tour. But does it matter because we're on a new course? You know, each of the last 4 winners had at least one top 5 that year before winning the event. But does it matter? But the last 5 winners, last year Patrick Reed won it. Dustin Johnson won it in 2019, Mickelson in 18, Dustin Johnson in 17, and Adam Scott in 16. So again, it's a World Golf Championship event, so you're always going to have big names winning these events and all. But
rises to the top.
Even though it's a course that hasn't been played on, I think you could still at least look to that it's going to take one of the top guys winning this event.
Yeah, 100%. So I have a couple interesting stats about this. So out of the last 14 WGC events, so basically I think it's since like 2015, 8 of 14 have been won by a top 3 player in the world. 10 of 14 have been won by a top 10 player in the world. So pretty much to play off of what you just said, the best players are going to win. You're going to want guys in the top 10 of the world golf rankings. So it's funny to think about that. You think about like recent form, you think about stats, but this week you're going to want to look at the world golf rankings too. I think in your research, you're going to want one of those guys.
Just bring them up on the screen right now.
Yeah. That's pretty much how I did my bets. Spoiler alert, but that's pretty much how I did my bets.
I haven't placed my bets per se yet. I mean, I've got the names written down, but some of those bets might actually change now based off of, some of those stats right there.
Yeah, it's wild.
My top 2 guys won't change, but the rest change right there based off of that. So that's really interesting.
So this is a weird course too. You're going to have to score on par 5s, and there's super long par 3s also on this course. So par 3 score, obviously people think you can score on par 3s, but these are long par 3s. So it's going to be interesting to see how the scoring kind of pans out this week.
All right. Well, let's just dive right into the DraftKings and all the numbers and stuff like that. Just get going. For those not paying attention online, I'm out of town. I'm in the mountains right now. So, I've done minimal research this week. I'm going to rely on Jason's excellent knowledge this week, but let's just jump right into it. You got your 10Ks and above. You've got, again, when you've got an event, 72 players, it's a no-cut event. The no-cut event thing does change it a little bit. But when you only have 72 players, you got the who's here. So, I mean, you got guys in the 9s and 8s that are normally much higher. But, of course, number one ranked golfer in the world, Dustin Johnson, 11-6. He leads the top-tier players. You got Cantlay, McIlroy, Thomas, Xander Schauffele, and John Rahm. I'm just going to jump right at Dustin Johnson. How you cannot start your lineup with him, having won it 2 of the last 4 years. I mean, I think he will be in almost every single one of my lineups, and I will find a way to make it work.
It's funny too. I think people are trying to talk. It's like it almost seems so obvious that they're trying to talk themselves out of it for whatever reason. I've heard a lot of different podcasts already this week, and they're saying like, "Oh, he's coming in not such good form." Okay, that is not such good form. He finished 8th last week. Yeah. So if that's a bad week, he didn't play great on Sunday. I'll give you that, but it's one round. I mean, if his floor is a top 8, I'm okay with that. So I completely agree with you. And then the second guy is almost like Dustin Johnson light is John Rahm. I feel like how you don't start your lineup with either DJ or Rahm this week, I'll never know. I mean, Rahm's coming in with T5, T13, T7, T7 in his last 4 events. He snuck into the top 5 last week too. They never showed any of his shots on Sunday, so people weren't really aware of it. But he just the guy's just always around the lead. He's good on courses like this. He's the second best par 5 scorer in the field and the best tee to green player in the field. So yeah, I definitely love John Rahm this week too.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously because he's the number 1 ranked player, I love Dustin Johnson the most. And I mean, he's only where's my notes? Was he 6-1 or something like that? 6-1. So you're gonna have to place a pretty significant bet to win anything on him. But your lineup's right around there. The other guys in the thing, Xander's always Mr. Consistent. Patrick Cantlay, very consistent golfer. But 2 guys in the top 10 or top 10K range, McIlroy and Justin Thomas, they just haven't been playing well enough this year. I mean, they haven't missed an enormous amount of cuts or anything, but they're not finishing in the top 5 every week. They just seem really off their game right now, and I'm surprised their price tags haven't come down just a little bit.
Yeah, with Rory, it's the putter. The guy cannot putt at all. It's crazy, and it's affecting the rest of his game because he knows that he can't putt, so he's got to put it super close. And I'm staying off him until he proves me wrong. Justin Thomas is a weird one for me. He typically is a really good WGC player. He actually is one of the best in this field. However, he's kind of going through some stuff in his personal life right now. His grandpa and his dad basically got him into golf, and his grandpa just passed away a couple weeks ago. So I don't think he's in the right headspace right now. So. And then he also putted like absolute garbage last week. I'm not sure if you watched any of it, but he putted himself right out of the tournament, which he does a lot of the time for such an elite player. He's also not a very good putter. So, yeah, I don't know how you feel about Xander. I know you like Xander in general, but
yeah, I like him a lot. But if I'm going to spend, I mean, Xander's what, 10-8? 10-8. If I'm going to spend 10-8, I might as well spend 11-6. It's just my opinion. When you're getting to that point, there's enough value in the 7s because of the smaller field that – some of my favorites before I heard the top 10 players in the world, stats there and all. Some of my favorite plays to win the event are in the 7K range. So, you don't need to go with, one of those lineups like last week. I had multiple guys in that top tier. I'm just going to pretty much go Dustin Johnson in every lineup except for 1 or 2, which, like you said, is John Rahm. The rest of the guys, I'm avoiding them this week.
I think that's a great point, too. I love Xander. I play Xander a lot, but I feel like when you can bump up just a few $100 and get to DJ or Rahm, I would much rather have those guys. Those guys are
and I actually think Xander will have a higher ownership percentage this week
because he's cheaper
than the others. Because, like you said, everybody's talking themselves out of Dustin Johnson.
Right. Sometimes when you have too much time to think, I feel like people try to find a narrative. They're not basing it off of anything, any knowledge or anything. They're just doing it off of a narrative. And I think the narrative is, DJ is going to slow down at some point, so maybe it's going to be this week, but I don't know. I don't know how you don't play him. I agree with you.
All right. So right into the 9Ks, top guy in the 9Ks, well, not the top guy, second guy down, Tony Finau. 3 straight second place finishes, on tour right now. He's 9,800. I mean, his price tag keeps going up in fantasy. So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on him this week. Does he eventually – he's either going to eventually go on that big win streak, or he's just going to completely crash and burn eventually here. Which one is it in the immediate future?
Well, I have two reasons why I don't like him this week, and I play him most weeks. He is going to eventually win for sure. But the 2 things I don't like about him is he's played a ton, including overseas. He played in Saudi Arabia. So he's traveling a ton and playing a ton. So I feel like that's taxing on him. And also, how do you not come out of that tournament last week a little defeated? You know what I mean? Like that's going to hang with him for a little bit. Like I'm right there. I have everything in my control and I blew it. Like sometimes winning does that, but sometimes I feel like losing in heartbreaking fashion also does that too. So Finau is probably going to be a fade for me this week. What are you going to do with him?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on all that. He is going to go on a winning streak tear soon, but I think he's closer to falling apart in the short term than going on that winning streak. So, I mean, my favorite 9K play is down towards the bottom of the 9K, and that's Webb Simpson. 9,100. I mean, he's 22.5 to 1 to win. He's what, 9th in the world golf ranking? So he fits into your top 10. Was he 9th? Yeah, he's 9th in the top 10 world rankings. Like I said, you've got to have top 5 finishes this year to win this event. I think it's setting up for a week that he not only can have a deep run, but I think he can honestly win this event.
And we mentioned this in the course previews that this is a second shot course. Who's the best iron player in the world? Webb Simpson. So, absolutely. Yeah, I love Webb this week. I actually love this range in general. I feel like you could pretty much talk me into playing any of these guys at this point. My favorite one in this range is Victor Hovland, that's who I thought you were going to say. 9,400, T5, T6, T2 in his last 3 events. I mean, talk about good form. It doesn't get much better than that. Great ball striker. His putting's improving too, which his putting blows. So if he can even be like an average putter, the dude's going to win a ton of times on tour. Love him. And I also love Hatton this week. 9,600.
I was going to ask you about Hatton. Hatton hasn't played on the PGA Tour lately, has he?
Right. No,
so we don't have a lot of familiarity on this show. I mean, his last 3 events were all in Europe. I mean, but he's got to win a T22 and a T6.
And a T6, yeah. Yeah, he's also a great iron player too and a great putter, which I think are really important at this course. So I love him. Yeah, he hasn't played on tour, but he doesn't play that much on the PGA Tour anyway. He's more of a Euro guy anyway. So I love him. And then I'll talk about I'll wait for the bets till later. But yeah, this is a great range, definitely.
Yeah, I think literally, like you said, almost every guy here. The only guy I would stay away from or fade in this 9K range is Bryson DeChambeau. He just looked off last week. He did not look, I don't know, from last year's play to this year, he looks like a different golfer.
Well, and they said this is
off with him.
This course they're saying is a less than driver course, meaning you're not going to hit driver off the tee. So, I mean, that's his strength. And if you're not hitting driver off the tee, I mean, he may still hit driver off the tee because that's what he does. But
pretty much all he ever does.
Yeah, you're going to want to be accurate this week, and he sprayed it all around the course last week. So that's a big thing for me. So yeah, he's a fade for me, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's jump into the 8K range here. Again, you love the 9K range. I love the 8K range as well. I mean, obviously, how Max Homa wins last week's event and is only 8,600. You got Sungjae Im. I absolutely love him this week. He plays really well in Florida. Your guy, Matthew Fitzpatrick, fell apart on Sunday. Got a lot of good former winner. What's that? Yeah.
You called him my guy. I can't stand the guy. But I like playing him. He just looks like a giant dork. I don't know. But yeah. No, he did play well last week. He does. Yeah, he does. But yeah, he's coming in really good form too. T5 and T7 in his last 2 weeks. I placed a top 5 bet on him last week, on Tuesday, and I forgot. So that was good. But he's actually really good on long courses, even though he's not long off the tee, which is weird. But good iron player and a good putter too. So I like him.
Yeah, I love also. So like I said, I like Sungjae Im. I love Max Homa this week, but Joakim Niemann, I mean, fell apart on the weekend a little bit last week. I had bets on him. I had him in a lot of my lineups, but 8,100 last week. He finished in 30-something place. Hold on, I forget my notes here. 43rd. But he had 2 second place finishes his last 2 events prior to that. So he's another guy at 8,100 that it's another one I might have to have an all 8K lineup again like I did last week. And I cashed in I had 5 8K guys and 1 7K guy, and it was a cash lineup. It's a lineup where you could probably do that this week.
You know what, too? You're not going to be worried about a cut. So he's a little extreme sometimes. He could score in bunches, but he can put bogeys up in bunches too. But you don't care about that in no-cut events. I mean, you want guys that could score. He hasn't played a lot either. So T43 last week, super tough course. Hadn't played in a while. But T2, 2, and T23 in his previous 3 events, they're just spread out. He's not playing a lot of golf right now, but I love him. I play him a lot anyway. And the other one, it's kind of a similar type player to me, is Will Zalatoris at $8,000. He's super consistent too. T15 again last week. So T17 and T7 and 2 weeks before that too. Great iron player, and he seems super underpriced for me at 8,000. He just I don't know. Nobody ever talks about him. You never see a week he's in the top 15 at the end of the week.
We
so
talked about him the first episode or 2 of this show, which was only 6 weeks ago. But then we've skipped him the last 3 or 4 weeks. I kind of feel like we ditched him. But I mean, he is a guy that's going to become one of the next big things on the tour. So at that price, you gotta like him a lot as well.
Yeah, you don't even ever hear about him. Nobody really ever talks about him except for guys that are super into golf. But he's just a solid player. So yeah, I like him a lot.
What are your thoughts on the other guy up there in the upper part of it? Hasn't played on the PGA Tour yet this year, but you got Tommy Fleetwood, who again a 7th, a 17th, and a 26th in Europe this year. He's a guy that seems like he's ready to win a PGA Tour event again soon, but just what's his name in the 9K range, we haven't seen him. Tyler Hatton, we haven't seen him on tour enough.
I don't like Fleetwood this week. He's a guy that I like to play on tougher courses for the most part. But then he's also a guy. It's weird with DraftKings. He's also a guy that if you look back, when are you ever man, I should have played Tommy Fleetwood? And Hideki Matsuyama's kind of become that guy too. And it's everybody talks about him every single week, but how often are you actually wow, man, I should have played him? He really burned me. It's he's going to come out. He's going to get a top 15. Not, ho-hum, nothing real too special for me. So yeah, I'm probably not going to play him this week. Are you going to play him?
I'm not really sure. I tend to stay away from the guys like him or Hatton that I haven't seen. I like to go off the stats, but I also like to go with feel to an extent. And I can't get a feel on them because I haven't actually watched them play yet this year. So
yeah, guys always play for whatever reason too. Guys always play struggle their first time over here. If that makes any sense. European guys that come over for the very first time.
Yeah. Anybody else there that we missed? We missed Scotty Scheffler and Adam Scott. Scotty, I mean, he's dead to me for now. And Adam Scott, he's a really good golfer, but I think you get better value elsewhere in the 8Ks.
I think the same thing too. It's one of those situations in the 8Ks. It's almost like every single guy in there, you could probably make an argument for him, but you're going to have to pick your, 3 or 4 guys that you go with. So yeah, I think onto the 7K, which is tough. The 7K range is tough this week, I feel like. The
7K range has got some interesting, at least thoughts in my opinion. First off, you were mentioning the no cut thing. Were you going to bring up Bubba Watson and the no cut rule?
I always think about Bubba. I think about Bubba every week.
His last 5 no cut events, he's finished twice in the top 10 and 3 times in the top 30. So I mean, he tends to play well in the no cut events. I'm not sure if his game and this course really fit him, but in those no cut events, he seems to score well without that pressure on him.
And he scores in general. Like, he's just a scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna put up some numbers, but he can go on a streak where he puts up a lot of birdies. So yeah, I didn't list him as my golfers in one of my golfers this week, but I can be talking to him, I think. I don't think – in the 7K range has a lot of guys that are good golfers but kind of have question marks right now, I feel like.
So I got another one, a lower 7K range guy. I mean, I like him, but, 3 top 5s in his last 5 events, Ryan Palmer. This is the interesting thing. So he's 37th overall on the cost list in DraftKings, okay, at 7,200. But he's got the 20th best odds to win the event. Kind of makes me think that he's priced too low based off of his recent, performance and all. So it kind of intrigues 100%. Me on both ends of the equation there, that I know he's not in the top 10 world golf rankings, but it definitely puts me in a spot where he's 24th overall. I kind of want to play him in a lot of my lineups, and I'm not sure if I should.
He's 100% my favorite guy in this range, so I'm glad you mentioned him. He is, first of all, he's
your best guy.
He's a scorer. He's also, this is really weird. I heard this comp probably like a month ago. Whenever you're going to play Jon Rahm in a lineup, play Ryan Palmer in the same lineup because they always play well at the same courses. So it's kind of interesting. They're actually buddies, and they won that, whatever that doubles tournament is. They won that a couple years ago together. But yeah, if you're going to play Rahm, typically courses that fit Rahm fit Palmer too. So yeah, I love Palmer this week. I think he's way underpriced. Yeah, especially for like what we talked about in this range. It's like there's a lot of good golfers, but they all have huge question marks. He's like the one guy that's just been solid all the way across the board.
It's just, I was reading an article earlier today, and I never really took the aspect of comparing the level where they are in the odds to win the event to where they are on the price list. And it's something I guess based off of reading that article, I'm like, maybe it's something else that I got to add to my research on a weekly basis, where they fall on that. Because, if you're a top 20 expected to win the event and you're almost outside the top 40 on cost, kind of says maybe that somebody's wrong somewhere. You might want to play them. So I do like him.
Vegas is smart to go off that point. Las Vegas is the guys who make these lines and these prices and these odds are smart dudes, and they're always right. So yeah, I think that's a very good way to look at it.
Yeah, very good point there. So where else are you leaning in the 7K range? I got a couple other names written down, but
I have a couple. My next 2 favorites are probably Louis Oosthuizen, 7,900, T11, T29. His last 2 events, hasn't played a lot. Super good putter, obviously we know that. Better in these big events like this, so I like him. And I always pretty much get him a sucker for Mark Leishman. He's never that solid, but like T32, T18, T4, T24 in his last 4 events, he's solid. And I feel like he's a guy that could get up there this week, so I like him too. I feel like his stats aren't going to jump out at you.
Down on my list as well.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that his stats don't jump out at you. His play really doesn't jump out, but if you look, he's just solid. He's consistent. So I
agree with you 110% on Leishman. On Oosthuizen, I don't know. I tend to. I don't know. I haven't played enough of him to really, he's not dead to me, but when I do play him, he doesn't seem to perform. So I got another interesting name, and I know he's missed 2 straight cuts, but before that, he was playing some amazing golf with a 5th, a 1st, a 32nd, a 6th, dating back to late last year. Harris English. Will he turn it back around at some point, or are we just pretty much now, this is where we are with Harris English?
He is so interesting. I was hoping that you would have some sort of like tidbit that would talk me either in or out of him. He's been so good for the past year, but he's, like you said, he's been god awful for the past couple of weeks. So I don't know where I stand on him. Are you going to play him?
I was hoping you gave me some advice on him. I wrote it down. I wrote the 7,500 and I wrote a question mark because we always talk about, the recency bias with these golfers. And 2 straight missed cuts, it's not good. But if you look at the events that he missed the cut, obviously, last week, no, he didn't play last week. The Waste Management, Phoenix Open, he actually shot a 69 in round 2. So it wasn't like he was playing bad. He's only had 1 over par round in his last 2 events that he missed a cut. It's just they were both low scoring events. So it's not like he's swinging a poor stick right now. He's just not. He wasn't scoring low enough those 2 weeks.
The one thing I will say about him is that his strength is his short game, and his short game has been bad in his last 2 events. So that scares me a little bit. I don't know. I feel like his price is too cheap. So I'll probably throw in a little bit of him this week just because he's got upside. He's got winning upside for sure.
And again, another guy that I had down, again, recency bias. It's a guy we started talking a lot about in the beginning of this, the first few weeks of the show, and we've, kind of forgotten about, like Zalatoris, is Carlos Ortiz. Missed the cut last week. Again, a very tough course, very tough event. Before that, T4, T29, T14, T8, T37. He won in Houston back in November. The guy was playing great golf. And I kind of feel, again, at that price, you can't go wrong on those really solid guys in the 7K range.
And he's a scorer. That's what we want this week. He's a scorer. He's one of those guys that – so you play him a lot, obviously. You talk about him a lot. Mm-hmm. Your love for him has kind of made me love him this year too, so I've been playing him a lot too. He's one of those guys that if you watch him during a round, it's infuriating. Like, he will look so good on some holes and so bad on other holes, but if you look at the end, it's like he outscores his placement most of the time, meaning he'll score – he might finish T30, but he'll score in the top 20 because he scores so much for DraftKings. Okay. So I like him this week. I think.
And again, at 7,300, you can't go wrong, especially in a no-cut event. That's why I'm looking. I've got one other name that's in the 6K, but I'm looking at so many of these 7K names because, again, in a no-cut event, you could stack your 2 favorite guys. If it's Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, whoever, you could spend your money at the top, and then you could pick guys like Carlos Ortiz or, Harris English, whoever you have a feeling on to save your money.
Yeah, and you want guys that have winning upside at the bottom. So, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Ortiz is the same way. It's like he's not afraid of anything. He can come out and easily finish in top 5 this week. So, yeah, I like him too. I bet you I can guess your 6K guy.
We'll say it because I'll tell you if you're right or not.
Abraham Answer is your 6K guy. Yeah,
I didn't even know he was down in the 6Ks.
Ooh,
how much work I did. Yeah, I got a guy even cheaper than that. I've got Lanto Griffin at 6,700. He's got top 30 in 10 events in the last year. No cut. Finished T26 last week on a very tough course. I think he's trending in the right direction. And, I love Lanto Griffin. Now that I see Abraham Answer all the way down there, I kind of like him too.
So if I could give you people watching this, if I could give you one tip playing DFS golf, if Lanto Griffin is under 7,000, you play him every single time. The dude can score. He's solid. He's a good player. This is a bad price for him. I feel like he should be 7,500 in this tournament. So, yeah, 100% agree with you on that one.
That price, there's enough smart people out there that he'll have a really high ownership percentage then?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably. That's the only downside to him this week. Actually, with Abraham Answer, with a lot of these guys in the low 6Ks, is the fact that we're new to this podcasting golf game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're just saying what we've learned over the years, from watching other people, that there's a lot more smarter people that are thinking the same way as we are.
I think whenever you go through your DraftKings players, you're going to look for guys that are mispriced. And I feel like he is the most mispriced guy of the week. So, yeah. To your point, I 100% agree.
I could buy that. Do you have any other names in the 6K range that you like this week?
I'm intrigued by Kevin Na, although he is firmly on my dead to me list. So I would be going against myself if I play him this week. But
are we going to have anybody not on the dead to me list between me and you by the end of the year? Because there's literally 30 on my list already.
Probably Dustin Johnson will be the only guy by the end of the year that won't be dead to us. But I just feel like if I'm going to go down this low, I want a guy that can win. And Kevin Na, he's won like 5 times, I think, in the past 3 years or something like that. Like, I don't like the guy, but he can get hot and easily, contend this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you want to start building the lineup?
Let's do it.
Let's build our lineup as we do every week. Every week we pick a lineup. We take turns picking a lineup here, and we both play this lineup. We really don't make much money on it because it seems to be my worst lineup every single week. But we do it anyway.
Last week, though. It cashed last week. It doubled up its money. So
yep. Yeah, absolutely. It was a good lineup. It was the first time. It was this our fourth time doing it, and we're 1-2 so far on cashing, I believe, on our lineup. So, all right, I'll let you go first because if I go first, I'm taking Dustin Johnson. So I'll let you make the decision on the first pick.
All right, I'm gonna go with, since you're gonna go DJ, I'm gonna let you have DJ. I'm gonna go Zalatoris.
All right,
8,000.
I'm happy with Zalatoris on the lineup, and yeah, I'm going to go Dustin Johnson for sure. So now after spending 11.6 on the most expensive player and Zalatoris, it still leaves us with 7,600 at this point.
All right, I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Joaquin Neiman. Joaquin the Dream Neiman, 8,100.
Love him. I think he could actually win this event potentially.
Me too.
So I'll follow that up because we need to save some money. We're down to 7,400 with that. So I'm going to go with Ryan Palmer. I talked him up earlier.
I like that too.
I don't know if he'll win outright, but I think it's 7,200. I just think I think that those odds just say so much to me this week. So I think Ryan Palmer's a must play in almost every single lineup. We got 2 spots left. It puts us at 7,550 now.
All right, I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper. I was debating on between two guys. I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper. I'm going to go Justin Rose, 7,700.
Okay. What do we got on Justin Rose? We haven't even talked about him in the last couple
episodes. That's why
I
feel like he's better than this price point. He's been decent over in Europe, hasn't played in the U.S. in a while. But he's a guy that, he was a former world number one, 3 years ago? So right. I don't hate that play.
All right, so that leaves us with 7,400 for me to make the final pick. I know we love to leave money on the table. Oh, man, 7,400 is exactly Leishman. I could drop down to Carlos Ortiz at 7,300. I really like Mark Leishman this week. I know you love leaving the money on the table, but we're taking Mark Leishman here to round out our lineup.
So I just trapped you right there, basically.
So you wanted to pick Leishman. You didn't want to be leaving the money on the table.
Correct. I wanted you to pick Leishman, so I picked Justin Rose. Correct.
All right. Well, that's greatly appreciated. So our lineup this week, obviously, we got Dustin Johnson as our highest priced player. We got Joakim Neiman and Will Zalatoris, both at the low 8K range, and we got Ryan Palmer, Justin Rose, Mark Leishman. I ain't gonna lie, I think this is our best lineup we've built on this show so far.
I think so too.
I really like this lineup here.
I think so too, and I like to leave money on the table, like you said, but I feel like Leishman and Rose, especially Rose, are going to be super low on this week. So that's kind of the trade-off of leaving money on the table. So take low own guys.
Yeah, I agree. That's a lineup that might get 2 buy-ins from me because, like I said, I'm really confident in that. I like that. Or a double up on it. All right, let's look at the odds here for this week's event. Obviously, Dustin Johnson is the favorite to win the event at 6-1. Well, I did these numbers early this morning, so they may have switched up a little bit. But Dustin Johnson's the favorite at 6-1. What's your favorite or first bet that you're making this week then?
Favorite bet of the week. I'm gonna go Hatton 22-1.
Yeah, again, you're a little higher on him than I am just because, I won't place bets on anybody I haven't watched, play. It's hard for me to pick them in fantasy, but it's even harder for me to, bet them. My favorite bet to win this week is Webb Simpson at 22.5.
I like that a lot too.
I love him. He's almost worth an extra bet to an extent, in my opinion, this week because I think he's got his game sets up perfectly. I think odds 22.5 to 1 is great odds for somebody that's 9th ranked player in the world. I love Webb Simpson this week.
Bonus content. I actually already bet Webb Simpson also. So
there you go.
Double the love.
There we go. I love it. Okay.
So I'll go into my second favorite bet of the week, Victor Hovland, also 22-1. Like that a lot. I've
bet him 3 weeks in a row to win, and he hasn't come through for me, so I'm staying away from him. He's not dead to me, but I'm staying away from him.
He's been really damn good. I was going to say he's a top 5 machine. He hasn't won, but he's top 5 every week, pretty much.
And then guys already won me money. He hasn't played since Saudi Arabia. Won the Farmers Insurance a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe a little bit longer, like a month ago. Patrick Reed at 30. We didn't even talk about him in daily fantasy this week.
I know.
How did we not talk about Patrick Reed at 9,200 in cost? Patrick Reed at 31.5 to 1 to win the event. I know he's not top 10 in the world golf rankings. He's 11th.
Pretty damn close.
Yeah, it's pretty damn close. I don't know how you don't pick him this week. I mean, Will Simpson and Patrick Reed, I think, just fit perfectly on a course like this.
Also, a WGC stud. He's always good on these courses, and he's good in tough fields too. So
I would love to see the stats on. I didn't look it up. I mean, he did win the event last year on a different course and all. But we've pretty much stayed away from all defending champs so far this year. But this could be the week where he actually defends his crown because it's a different course.
Spoiler alert, I also have already bet Patrick Reed this week. So
I love it.
Yeah. So you want me to give you my last one? It's probably somebody that you're probably going to laugh at me for this. I just think this number's too high. Brooks Koepka, 25 to 1. Already bet that as well. Okay. I don't love him I don't like him in DraftKings.
About him either this week.
I don't like him in DraftKings this week, but I feel like when he turns it on, he's one of the top 3 best players in the world. So I like that.
We talked about him a couple of weeks ago that he's either a boom or bust guy. You bet him to win the event. You don't play him regularly in daily fantasy unless it's a major event when he's always doing well. I'm torn on some of my other bets here this week. I mean, obviously, I'm going to place a bet on Dustin Johnson, even though it's 6 to 1. I mean, he's the favorite for a reason. Or I might wait and save him till we see what happens round 2 or 3. If he 2 or 3 shots back after a round or 2, those odds may go up, and he can easily come back on the weekend to if that gets pushed to 10 to 1 or 12 to 1. You place a little bet as long as he's pretty close to in the leaderboard, So Dustin Johnson. But again, just like we talked about it with DraftKings, I love Ryan Palmer this week. He's 55 to 1. And my long shot, also a guy we picked, Mark Leishman at 125 to 1. So my 4 main bets are Palmer, Reed, Simpson, and Leishman. Leishman, 125 to 1. I mean, the guy could legitimately win the event. I mean, you said it before, a 32, 18, 4, 24, and a 13 recently. I mean, the guy's playing really good golf. And to be 125 to 1, I think that's a steal of a bet, even if you just throw $1 on him.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. He's a great putter, too. So great putters we've seen. If he comes out and gains 6 strokes putting or something this week, he can win this golf tournament. So I think that's a great bet, too. I was kind of struggling on the lower end to try to find guys that I like with value, but I think that's a really good one.
Do you have any other bets that you like this week? Do you have any top 5s or first-round leaders or anything? I know you did pretty good.
I did one top 5. I don't know really why I did this because I don't like this guy this week, but I did one top 5, and I bet Bryson top 5.
Okay. He's another one, just like Brooks Koepka. I mean, he looked as awful as he did last week. He can instantly just flip a switch and pass this field, massively. 606 yard par 5 is nothing to him. So that's a whole. He gets there, with a 9-iron on his second shot, maybe. You know what I mean? So, 100%. The distance on this course, what is it, like a 7,500 yard course almost? I had the notes somewhere here. I crossed them off already. It's like a 7,500 yard course. That's nothing to him. So, I could get behind it. I don't know if I'd bet it, but I can get behind it for sure.
You know what we've done too? You kind of mentioned it a little bit briefly earlier, but wait until after the first or second day of the golf tournament, see what everything's happening, and see if you can find a value bet. Like, see if DJ's number goes down or Rom's number goes down a little bit, because you and I combined have hit three weeks in a row. We've hit a winner, I think, betting on Friday or Saturday.
I technically hit a winner last week, even though I backed out of the bet at the end there. I mean, I still
correct.
It was what was he, 22 to 1 or something like that at that point when we bet him? I still got like $15 out of it on a small bet. So, 12, 15. But we've hit,
you got to think though, we've hit Reed, Brooks, and then Homa betting on Friday. So you got to keep it. Things change in the golf tournament. I mean, there's
and
odds.
That's why I like Dustin Johnson this week, but not a round favorite. I want to wait and see if he falls 2 strokes behind. Those odds go 10, 12 to 1.
12.
Now I'm going to place the bet and actually win. I don't know what everybody bets out there, but if you bet a unit and say unit's $5, you're only winning $30 on them. But you wait till those odds change a little bit, you might win $100 on them. So it's definitely important. And again, I cashed again last week on Saturday and Sunday rounds. I mean, just like gambling, pay attention to the single day events. They're a gold mine. they're smaller fields, so you have less people to have to worry about.
Yeah.
And, you can really play around with momentum in those events.
I think that's a great way to put it. You should post your lineups for. I think you posted one last week, but you're really good at that, so you should definitely post your lineups.
I'll have to work on that.
Showdown.
I've cashed in all but one. So we've done this 6 weeks in a row now. I've only 1 week did not cash on my Saturday only lineup. I'm about 50% on my Sunday lineups, but I've almost cashed every single week on Saturday because you just look at the cut. It's called moving day for a reason. DraftKings will put third round or fourth round averages on there so you can see how they do that day of an event. Typically, there's a lot of great information out there on those. So it's definitely something to definitely pay attention to.
100%. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Do you got anything else before we wrap it up? A little quicker of an episode. Got to get back to a little vacation mode here.
No, I don't think I really have
to win.
They did. Yes. They won by, I think, 12 or 14. So
good.
Holding on to that tourney hope, man. So yeah, we're good. But yeah, no. A tip I heard last week about building your lineups is, everybody's always wondering, should I play 12 guys? Should I play 14 guys? Should I play 16 guys? You don't need a core of 4 guys like that. Those 4 guys don't have to be in every single one of your lineups. Pick a guy when you're starting your lineup. You don't have to start from the top or the bottom. Pick that first guy that you can't live without. DJ, Rom, whoever that guy is, put him in. Then pick your second guy that you can't live without. And then for the rest of it, fill in the lineup. There's a lot of good plays in a lot of tournaments, but you want those 1 or 2 guys in your lineup that you need to have. So don't try to get cute and okay, I need to start from the bottom. I need to pack in 3 lower guys so I can go high. It's like, pick the guys you want. I mean, let's not forget the whole point. Play good golfers. That's what we want to do. And I think people overthink it sometimes, but get the guys you want in your lineups.
That term right there, overthink it. I think that's what a lot of people are going to do with Dustin Johnson this week. Mm-hmm. I can't guarantee he'll win the event, but I think you can almost lock it. It's better than 95% likelihood that he's going to finish in the top 5 this week. Mm-hmm. And even at that 11.6 price tag, if you could finish in the top 5, you've paid off 100%.
Exactly right.
So,
exactly right.
You don't overthink Dustin Johnson or John Rahm on that thing. Mm-hmm. Dustin Johnson, like I said, if I do 7 lineups, I'm guessing he'll be in 6 of them, probably, Dustin Johnson. I might switch 1 up to John Rahm, but yeah, you just can't go wrong with him in daily fantasy, even with that price tag. Right. Even when we get to the majors in a couple, what's the Masters is now what?
Like 7 weeks or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a huge price tag in that event. He'll still probably be in every single one of my lineups.
I have one more point. I know I'm kind of rambling, but I have one more point. You actually just said it about your showdown lineups. Everybody sees these big contests. You see the contest that gives away, $1 million to the winner or $500,000 to the winner or whatever. The chance of you winning that and beating 178,000 people is not good. Try to get into smaller contests that are single entry or 3 max. So you're playing against 3 lineups versus, playing against 2,500 people, 2,800 people, something like that. You're only winning 1,000 if you win it, but you're a lot more likely to win that than to beat 180,000 people.
Even if you just been cashing it, you're only having to beat, if there's a 2,000 person single entry lineup for $1 on Saturday, you only got to beat out 2,000 people. It's not, like you said, it's not 175,000 people. So I used to use a site that doesn't exist anymore, Fantasy Draft, because they were a smaller fantasy site, and even their major money buying events didn't have the 200,000 people in it.
Right.
They had 50,000 people in it. You want to win events when you're doing fantasy. You want to win your bets and all, but you also want to. The goal of any form of gambling is to make more money than you're putting out. So we might not have won a fantasy event this year yet. We've won some bets. We haven't won a fantasy lineup yet, but we've cashed well over 50% of our lineups, and that's really the goal. You want to cash every single week. You want to break even or make money every single week, and then hope once or twice the year to hit that big payday.
That's 100% right. Yeah, people get blinded by that. And when you play these big tournaments like the Millie Maker, you're competing against pros, and not only that, you're competing against pros that have 150 lineups in there. So they're having 150 different lineup combinations.
Computer algorithms. They have a room full of accountants like doing the numbers for them. They're not doing all of that on their own. They've got a team of people picking those lineups for them. So yeah, they're fun to put a lineup into and all, but you're not going to big picture make money regularly putting those lineups in, unless you're a professional.
Right. Yeah. If you or I or one of our friends happen to win, it's going to be pure luck. Whereas they win, they figured out the algorithm. Like you said, they have 150 different lineup combinations that can win. So be careful.
It's you have no chance. It's like that poker, phrase. If you look around a poker table and you can't find out who the dead fish is, it means it's you. You know what I mean? You go into that millionaire maker, you're probably the dead fish. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing it. It's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun to dream. And there have been people that have put one lineup in before and won. So they're all fun and games and all, but the odds are professionals are winning them all the time. And, we'll, maybe someday we'll get lucky to be there. But at this point, we just want to make money and make our listeners money every single week.
That's exactly right. Nicely said.
Yeah. So anyway, let's wrap this up. Again, thoughts out to Tiger Woods and his family. Awful car accident today. If I can only imagine, what his kids were thinking when it happened. And when you're a high profile athlete or celebrity, the news is, all over that stuff. And, like you said, Justin Thomas finding out during his interview about it, prayers go to him for sure, his family. Hopefully he can even just walk again, let alone anything else. But again, till the news comes out, we're on Fairway to Heaven, not jump into any conclusions. And I don't think anybody else should either.
Completely agree. Yeah, prayers out to them for sure.
Absolutely. And again, everybody have a great weekend. Everybody win, make some money. We're getting closer to warm weather. We might play some golf someday soon, us Northerners, So everybody have a great night. Make sure you stay in tune. This is a Fairway to Heaven on the All About the Birds Network. We're more than just Eagles football. We're golf. We got basketball, baseball talk, draft talk. We got everything. If you want to join the All About the Birds team as a writer, as a podcaster, as an advertiser, a sponsor, any kind of content creation, send one of us a message. Johnny, Jeff, Chip, myself. We'll get you set up with whatever you want to do. We're just trying to build the biggest winning team there is. We got some new shows potentially coming to the network soon. So everybody stay tuned for great stuff. For Jason Sullivan, I actually pointed the right way this time. For Jason Sullivan, I'm Phil Stifel for the All About the Birds Network and Fairway to Heaven. Y'all have a great night, okay?